Do you think parents should be in charge of their child's education as the primary stakeholder?
I believe parents are important stakeholders, but I also believe educators have a role in determining educational programming.
That was Education Secretary Miguel Cardona sidestepping the question of whether or not parents should be in control of their kids' education. He thinks parents shouldn't be the primary stakeholders. If he thinks that, who should be? The government? So kids learn to come home and tell their parents how racist they are? Fox News contributor Lara Trump and Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk join me now. All right, Lara, I'll start with you. What do you think about that statement?
Well, they're not even trying to hide what they're doing anymore, Judge. I mean, it's absolutely absurd to hear this from the Education Secretary. They're not hiding it. Your children are part of their new world order. Their plan is to socialize America, whether you like it or not. And if the collateral damage is basically taking any patriotism out of our children's lives, making sure they hate their country, hate one another, then they're happy to do it. I mean, think about it. If you want, at the end of the day, to socialize a country, you don't want your students to be proficient in reading and math. You want to indoctrinate them with critical race theory. You don't want them to have the tools to actually have a life whenever they leave school, because then they can be reliant fully on the government, Judge. That is their goal. That is their plan. And the scariest part is they're not trying to hide it anymore. He's happy to tell you.
Yeah, that is frightening, Charlie. You know, for a while it was like, you know, keep it on the down low. But now, I mean, when you hear the Education Secretary actually say that, and we also have with Terry McAuliffe and Youngkin, that primary for governor in Virginia, where I think it was McAuliffe who said, I'm not going to let parents tell the school what they should teach. I don't think parents should be telling the schools what to teach. I mean, what is going on? I've never heard of this.
Well, leftists all throughout history have always sought to destroy the bond between a parent and a child. We saw this in the Cultural Revolution with Mao Zedong in China, where they literally employed children to turn in their parents. We saw this in the Soviet Union. The expression Mother Russia was intentionally employed as a way to try to make the parent actually less important and the mother actually to be the nation, to be the government. This is something that has a very disturbing pattern to totalitarian governments that we've seen before. And now we see in multiple examples, as you wonderfully detailed, Judge, the left and even members of our government saying, yeah, the parents, I guess they could be part of a committee, but it's not as if they have the final say. This is wrong and it's immoral. Their goal is to destroy Western civilization as we know it and the American constitutional republic. And the last firewall for that is the American family. And their comments are very revealing in their attempts to try to destroy the family.
Well, they're coming for us, Laura, and you know the whole idea that, you know, we elect people to the Board of Education. And you go to a Board of Education and you talk about what needs to be, you know, what should or shouldn't be taught. Now we're hearing about kids learning about sex education in like first grade. And then we've got all this stuff on critical race theory. And then when parents go in all over the country, they're like, the board is like condescending, like, who are you to tell us? What is going on and how do we stop it?
Yeah, and not only that, I mean, how many parents have you seen get kicked out of these school board meetings? They don't want any dissenting opinion. They don't want you to come in and say anything other than, oh, it's sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. You guys are doing a great job indoctrinating our children with hate. And good for the parents for standing up. I think the answer, Judge, parents have to be more involved. You need to run for your local school board. You need to be part of your community. You have to stay involved. You have to stay on top of this. And quite frankly, I think it's the reason we've seen so many parents turn to homeschooling. I think that is going to increase. That is going to be on the rise, because then at least you know what is happening, you know, in your children's education. You got to get more involved as parents across America. That is the only way we fight back.
I agree with that, Charlie. Last word from you.
No, I completely agree. And just this last week, the National School Board Association of America is now asking the Biden regime and White House to use DHS and the FBI to try to spy on parents because they're saying they're potential domestic terrorists for questioning them. This should make every parent livid and hopefully into action to hold their school board accountable.
Yeah, I'd like to get a copy of that, Charlie. All right, Lara Trump and Charlie Kirk, thanks so much. That's shocking.